Hello and welcome to Business 360. I'm Shireen Bhan. The big stories we're tracking this evening. The stock market's ending at the highest level in over 2 months. Nifty above 17,900. The Sensex adds nearly 350 points. The April F&O series is the best in 6 months, with the Nifty gaining 5%. Hindustan Unilever misses the mark on all parameters. Even as revenue grows at 10%, margins take a hit. Volume growth drops to 4%. In his last quarterly earnings, the CEO Sanjeev Mehta says HUL is done with price hikes and volumes are set to recover. Chinese retailers help lift Meta's sales in Q1. Revenue jumps 3%, ending the 3-quarter streak of decline. The company issues better-than-expected growth forecast for Q2. CEO Mark Zuckerberg says they remain committed to Metaverse despite growing interest in artificial intelligence. Samsung's quarterly profits plunged 95% to the lowest level in more than a decade. Prices for its memory chips continue to fall and demand remains weak, but the company is hopeful of a recovery in the second half. Govt Consumer enters into a non-binding agreement to acquire Raymond's FMCG business. The deal will enhance Raymond's presence into deodorants and sexual wellness categories. Electric Vehicle Manufacturers Association shoots up a letter to the Parliamentary Standing Committee, claims the Heavy Industry Ministry has missed incentive target by 50%, alleges that the ministry has most incongruously and patently disingenuously included sales of EVs it had not funded. Market regulator SEBI bars 6 individuals from the market for allegedly spreading manipulative information through Telegram channel and making illegal profits, imposes a penalty of 5.6 crore. Etihad Airways completes 20 years of operations in India. The airline CEO says India will be the third largest aviation market in 2 years, expects 20% growth in India by next year. Students from 36 Indian law schools call the Bar Council's opposition to same-sex marriage ignorant, regressive, harmful and against the Constitution. The Supreme Court asked the government to respond within a week if social benefits can be extended to couples without marital status. Olympic champion Abhinav Bindra, several sports stars along with farmer leaders and opposition parties lend their support to the wrestlers protesting in the national capital. Facing sexual harassment charges, the head of the Wrestling Federation, Brij Bhushan Singh, remains defiant even as a physiotherapist claims Singh harassed 3 wrestlers in Lucknow in 2014. The Lal Street ended the day at an over 2-month high. The Nifty and the Sensex gained over 0.5%, with the Nifty rising above 17,900. Mid-caps and banks rising in line with the blue chips. For the April series, the Nifty rose 5%, while the Nifty Bank rallied 8%. This was the best series for the market since October of last year. Nigel is standing by to wrap up the day's market action. Nigel.
Well, another good session for the bulls today. The markets gained for 4 straight sessions. Lower crude prices is what we woke up to, and a weaker dollar as well. That told you that the buy on dip strategy should continue. And boy, didn't that continue. For the past series, in fact, the Nifty was up nearly around 5%. It ended in style as well at the high point of the day. When the final tick for the series is the highest that you've seen the entire series, you know you've had a rather good one. Stock-specific actions, though, they did continue today. And now the bulls will feel that the momentum has swung into their favor. To run you through a few names that did pretty well, Bajaj Auto, they came up with this set of numbers earlier this week and they looked quite good. They're also talking about demand rebound in the export market as well as the domestic market. Bajaj Auto was one of the big gainers out there, making fresh 52-week highs. The other twins, as Bajaj Finance as well as Bajaj Finserv, well, they came out with a set of numbers and the street took that positively. So, you know, all these 3 stocks were up and about, all of them frontline Nifty names. On the flip side, though, HUL's numbers were a little bit disappointing, both on the volumes and the margin front. So in an otherwise strong trending market, that stock was a little bit lower. HDFC Life as well, the numbers look good, but the street believes growth in FY24 will be challenged. So that one as well was a little bit under pressure. But tech, there were plenty of concerns. Just to take a look at the reactions that we had today. L&T Technologies, that's LTTS, well, we had the management, they sounded confident. Coforge as well, the growth of close to around 5%, the street liked it. And KPIT Technologies, in the last 1 week or so, that's gained big time. So all 3 of them reacting to the numbers, thumbs up out there. On the flip side, though, Voltas, margin pressure, market share loss, so that stock ended lower. And Lotus Labs, when do they turn around on the margins? The street is waiting by. For the time being, though, the stock ended lower. So April was a good series. Now focusing on May. The big cue is going to be, will the global markets hold up? Will the Fed deliver just that 25 basis points and indicate a bit of a pause? Can we reach fresh all-time highs? For the time being, the bulls believe they have the momentum.
Yes, they certainly do, Nigel. Many thanks for joining us. In the currency market, the rupee ending the day at 81.84 against the greenback. A weak US dollar, strong domestic equities and oil below 80 a barrel aided the Indian currency. Crude oil prices remain on a tight leash, with Brent hovering below the $80 mark overnight. There was a sharp fall in prices of around 4% after consumer confidence in the U.S. hit a 9-month low. There was a marginal recovery today due to falling U.S. inventories and the hopes of higher demand coming in from China. On to the day's earnings action. FMCG major Hindustan Unilever missing the mark on all parameters, even as the revenue has grown 10%. Margins have taken a hit. Volume growth dropped to 4%. In his last quarterly earnings, the CEO Sanjeev Mehta said HUL is done with price hikes and he expects volumes to recover. Shilpa standing by with more. Shilpa, take us through the highlights of HUL's Q4 numbers.
HUL's numbers have missed estimates this time. Let me run you through some of the key headline numbers here. Now, revenue came in at about 14,893 crores. That was below estimates from an expectation of about 15,250 crores. Net profit also came in about 2,552 crores. Now, this is about a 9.5% increase over last year, but still below expectations. Volume growth came in at about 4%, and then the overall growth here was about 11%. 4% of which was volume, and the remaining 7% was price-led growth. Now, EBITDA at 3,471 crore was also below expectations, and so were gross margins of 23.3%, which was 70 basis points below the expectations. Now, home care grew about 19% from a segmental point of view, and growth was largely led by this particular segment. Beauty and personal care also, that grew about 10%, led by Lux. Food and refreshments, however, there was a slightly lower growth here of just about 3%, and this is because there was a marginal decline in the tea category because of inflation, especially in the premium side of things. Now, the management has said that in the near term, the business environment continues to remain volatile, and it said that while the rural slowdown has largely bottomed out, it continues to decline. However, the quantum of decline has come down. Even in terms of margins, the worst is behind us, is what the management has told us. There has been a sequential improvement in margins. However, still some pressure from a raw material or input costs point of view in the health food drinks department because of milk inflation and barley and a few other ingredients, and also in the tea department. But the company has said the focus now, because there is a slight improvement, will continue to be on volumes. Now, the company is also looking to reinvest its margins into its A&P spends. Last quarter, that was up about 80 basis points, as against another 80 basis points that it dialed up the quarter before that. On the D2C front also, it had made 2 acquisitions in the last quarter, and on that front, it said that integration, especially for Oziva, is ongoing with respect to distribution, and the company continues to look for more avenues for acquisitions, depending on the right price and the right category and the right fit for the company. So overall, there is cautiously optimistic is the larger commentary that is coming in from the company, but the headline numbers are miss on our estimates. Back to you.
Commodity prices have started moderating. That means we have stopped taking more price increase at an aggregate level. There are some commodities where the price increase is still there, but in many we have taken a price reduction. The rural incomes are much lower on an average basis. The commodity prices have been very high, but if things stabilize and the prices go down, we will pass on the benefits to the consumers, and we should start seeing the volume improving.
Well, that's Sanjeev Mehta of HUL, the last quarter under his watch as CEO. On to the big global tech earnings. Facebook parent Meta beating Wall Street expectations in the March quarter. The company's revenues rose to $28.6 billion after declining for the last 3 quarters. CEO Zuckerberg said that more job cuts will hit business groups in May. Meta plans to resume hiring and expects a 1 to 2% growth in headcount in 2024. Arjun Karpal is here with the report card. Arjun.
Let me just run through the headline figures here. Revenue of $28.65 billion, up 3%. Earnings per share, $2.20, down 19%, but less than expected. And that was key for the market. The company giving revenue guidance for Q2 of $29.5 billion to $32 billion, a beat. The messaging here from Meta is this: we are investing in our future, in AI, in the metaverse, but the bread and butter, that core advertising business, is still holding up strong despite the macro headwinds. And that's really really what we saw. Its Reality Labs division with its VR and AR strategy lost $3.9 billion in the quarter, but investors tolerating those losses mainly because of four things. First, the job cuts and restructuring appears to be going well. Meta really sort of trimming the fat there. The core ad business is back on track with ad revenue jumping in the quarter. The guidance was good, and as I mentioned, the company saying it's still investing in its future of metaverse and, crucially, of AI as well, which continues to be a theme through the earnings season.
Arjun, many thanks. That's Meta. Now, tech giant Samsung's profits down 95% to the lowest level since 2009 as demand for chips remained weak. The South Korean company posted revenues of about $47.6 billion, down 18% on a yearly basis. This is on par with Samsung's own estimates. The company is hopeful of a recovery in the second half. Popular TV shows and films like Succession, Harry Potter, Game of Thrones and The Lord of the Rings could soon return to India. This according to a Reuters report that says Reliance-owned Viacom18 has signed a multi-year streaming agreement with Warner Brothers. The partnership, which is expected to start next month, will make Jio Cinema the home for HBO and Warner Brothers content in India. However, CNBC-TV18 has not been able to independently verify this report. CNBC-TV18 Newsbreak has confirmed Govt Consumer has entered into a non-binding agreement to acquire Raymond's FMCG business. The deal is worth over 2,800 crore rupees and will go through by the 10th of May. It's expected to enhance Raymond's presence into deodorants and sexual wellness categories. Take a look.
We are strong in the premium apparel space. India is strong in the FMCG space. The more they grow the FMCG business, so if they sell, say, from 1 million cans to 2 million cans to 3 million cans, that's great publicity for the Park Avenue brand under apparel. And the more apparel we sell, the better it is for them. So I think it's a good win-win situation where we have created, where the ownership of the brand might be in two different people, but they're in two different categories, and both are specialized in their category.
Well, from the Raymond Govt consumer deal to the banking sector, RBI Governor Shaktikanta Das says the Indian banking system continues to be resilient, remains unaffected by sparks of instability that we are seeing in some advanced economies. The governor was addressing the global conference on financial resilience. He asserted that the central bank has started looking at business models of banks more closely, also asked banks to generate earnings even in times of external shocks.
A bank should have adequate capital buffers and be ready to generate earnings even in times of severe macroeconomic shocks. The Reserve Bank has therefore started looking at the business models of banks more closely. Aspects or deficiencies in the business model itself can spark a crisis in due course.
Well, that is the RBI governor. From one regulator to the other, market regulator SEBI has barred 6 people from the securities markets for allegedly manipulating stock information on social media. It's also imposed a penalty of 5.6 crore rupees. The accused allegedly used a telecom channel named Bull Run 2017 to make illegal profits. SEBI has barred 3 of the individuals from the market for 3 years and the others for a year each. Reeling under financial stress due to the non-disbursement of FAME subsidies over 15 months, members of the Society for Manufacturers of Electric Vehicles have hit out at the Department of Heavy Industries and have questioned the claims of the government on the number of vehicles subsidized. The industry body has said that while the government claims 9.6 lakh vehicles have been subsidized, in reality, subsidies have been withheld for 50% of electric vehicles sold for over 12 months. Parikshit is standing by with the details. Parikshit, this is a somewhat odd situation because here is the Electric Vehicles Manufacturing Association saying that the government has not subsidized, but the government is saying we cannot subsidize because you're in violation of the norms.
Well, you're clearly seeing the government, the nodal ministry for the automotive industry, that is the Department of Heavy Industries, and the electric vehicle industry body, SMEV, at loggerheads with each other. SMEV is directly questioning the claims of the Heavy Industries Ministry on 10 lakh electric vehicles having been subsidized by the government under the FAME scheme. SMEV is asking, how is it possible that on your website you're saying that 9.6 lakh vehicles have been subsidized, but actually there are 4.6 lakh vehicles which have been sold without subsidies, and majority of the OEMs have been waiting for the subsidies to be disbursed for over 12 months now. This has created financial stress for the companies. And very recently, in March 2023, the government has gone ahead and stopped subsidies for 4 more OEMs on pricing issues, such as Ather, such as TVS Motor Company, Ola Electric, and Hero Motorcorp. So in a way, you've stopped subsidies for almost 95% of the companies in the EV ecosystem. So you found everyone deficient. So how do you really expect the EV ecosystem to take off? So very strong claims there by the Society of Electric Vehicle Manufacturers. But remember, there are companies like Hero Electric, Okinawa, and 13 of them in total who've had their subsidies stopped. We have been reporting on how some of them are looking at stake sales, and here they are directly questioning the claims of the government that please come clean on whether you've actually given subsidies for 10 lakh vehicles or not, or you've missed your targets by 50%.
All right, Parikshit, many thanks for joining us. Staying with the auto sector, Maruti Suzuki Chairman R.C. Bhargav believes that electric vehicle manufacturers in India will struggle with volumes if subsidies are removed. While speaking to CNBC-TV18, he used China as example, saying that the EV sales in the country dropped significantly after the government stopped providing subsidies to companies. Remember, the current subsidy arrangement ends in March of 2024, and we're given to understand that so far the government is not keen to extend the FAME subsidies for electric vehicles. Take a look.
China, when they withdrew the subsidies on electric cars, sales went down substantially. We haven't been availing of this, so I'm not having any first-hand information, but my feeling of the Indian market is that without subsidies, most manufacturers will find it hard to maintain their existing volumes. Many of the manufacturers have been found ineligible to get the subsidies because they don't even have a 50% value addition.
That's Maruti's R.C. Bhargav. Up next, students from 36 Indian law schools call the Bar Council's opposition to same-sex marriage ignorant, regressive, harmful and against the Constitution. More when we return.
Now is the time to participate in the growth of world-class companies in one of the fastest-growing economies. Beat volatility and make your money work for you 24/7 by investing in the best mutual fund schemes to meet your financial goals. Multiply your money by profitable investing inside from India's biggest mutual fund manager.
Bandhan Mutual Fund presents MF Corner at these times.
Students from 36 Indian law schools have written an open letter against the Bar Council of India's opposition to legalizing same-sex marriage. The Supreme Court has been hearing petitions to legalize same-sex marriage for the last 6 days. The Bar Council, which consists of 15 men, said in its statement that it would be catastrophic to overhaul something as fundamental as the conception of marriage by the court. In response, the LGBTQIA collectives, the 36 law schools, have released a strongly worded statement opposing the Bar Council's stance, calling it ignorant, regressive, harmful and against the Constitution and the spirit of inclusive social life. The students went on to make a plea to the legal community. The statement reads, and I quote, "We call upon the legal fraternity to disavow all discriminatory, parochial and regressive beliefs that hinder the advance of people's movements towards justice. As students of law, we're proud to situate ourselves in history as a group that stood on the side of justice at this critical juncture." End of quote. Meanwhile, the Supreme Court has concluded day 6 of hearing petitions to legalize same-sex marriage. The centre said that the right to love and live together is a fundamental right, but the right to seek legal recognition of union is not. The top court has said that if the centre admits that right to live together is a fundamental right, then it would be the duty of the state that the social impact of cohabitation is recognized. Ashmit joins us now to take us through what proceeded in court today by way of arguments. Ashmit, interesting observations coming in, an interesting argument today being put forward by the Solicitor General saying that, look, the right to live and love is a fundamental right, but not necessarily the sanctity of marriage to be given to same-sex individuals. Take us through the key observations that came in from the Chief Justice today.
Well, the rationale that was offered by the Solicitor General, that right to cohabit is something that is permissible, but right to seek a legal recognition may not be, was that this is something that will have implications across various laws. Again, the Solicitor General was steering clear of taking a value judgment call on LGBTQ community, but rather focused on the legal aspects, where he pointed out that, look, a number of laws will stand to get impacted. He gave the example of the Indian Penal Code, saying that the way the rape provision is currently structured, only males, only biological man can be convicted of rape. So that is something, conversations like these around various other legislations can be affected, and therefore the submission made by the Solicitor General is that the right to cohabit, the right to love and the right to live together, that is something that is permissible, that is a fundamental right. There are no questions about it, but there is no fundamental vested right to seek a legal recognition by way of marriage. Now, in response, an interesting set of observations came from the bench, led by the CJI himself. He responded by saying that as far as the right to cohabitation is concerned, once that is conceded by the centre, then therefore there is an urgent need felt by the bench that there should be some form of legal recognition of the social fallout of cohabitation. This is something that needs to be borne in mind, and this is perhaps an indication that the Supreme Court may proceed in pointing in that direction. Not just that, the Apex Court also pointed out that we need to dispense with the Victorian morals which were self-imposed post 1857, and that the Indian culture was so wide and broad that it accounted for all these phenomena and cultures far before the Britishers came to India. So this is just, of course, one leg of the arguments. It will resume once again on May 3rd. That's when we'll have day 7 of hearing in the same-sex marriage case.
Ashwit, many thanks for joining us. Indian wrestlers continue to protest against the Wrestling Federation chief Brij Bhushan Singh in Delhi. Olympic champion Abhinav Bindra and other sports personalities have lent their support. The National Commission for Women has sought an action report from the Delhi police on the complaint that's been filed by the wrestlers. Meanwhile, Brij Bhushan Singh has said that he will fight to prove his innocence, even as a physiotherapist has claimed that Singh harassed 3 wrestlers in Lucknow in 2014. Our colleague Shivani Bazaz has more from the protest site at Jantar Mantar.
The renewed protest by Indian wrestlers against the Wrestling Federation of India chief and BJP MP Brij Bhushan Sharan Singh has entered its 5th day, and the wrestlers have made Delhi's Jantar Mantar their home. Many celebrated Indian wrestlers like Sakshi Malik, Govt and Bajrang Punia are practically living on the streets of Jantar Mantar, demanding justice in the multiple cases of sexual harassment filed against the WFI chief. The wrestlers were also seen practicing for their upcoming games on the roads of Delhi today morning. As we can see, support has been pouring in for these wrestlers, with the likes of Satyapal Malik and Naresh Tikait also coming in to show their support here in Jantar Mantar. The Supreme Court, as we know, has listed the matter for tomorrow, April 28th, Friday, and wrestlers say that they have full faith in Indian judiciary. The wrestlers have made it clear that the protest will not stop till they get justice in this case. In New Delhi with VJ Rajinder Raina, Shivani Bazaz for CNBC-TV18.
And with that, it is time for us to wrap up this edition of Business 360. Thanks very much for watching. Do stay tuned. The news continues here on CNBC-TV18.